My name is Matthew Todd and welcome to Inside the Scale Up. This is the podcast for founders and executives in tech looking to make an impact and learn from their peers within the tech business. We lift the lid on tech businesses, interviewing leaders and following their journey from startup to scale up and beyond, covering everything from developing product market fit, funding and fundraising models to value proposition structure and growth marketing. We learn from their journey so that you can understand how they really work, the failures, the successes, the lessons along the way, so that you can take their learnings and apply them within your own startup or scale up and join the ever-growing list of high-growth UK SaaS businesses. Hey, and welcome back to the podcast. Really pleased to be joined by Pete Wilkinson from Reclaro this morning. Good morning, Pete. Good to have you here.
Morning, Matthew. Thank you very much.
Good to see you again. And yeah, like other guests on the podcast, I like guests to introduce themselves, introduce their business, rather than me speak on their behalf. I think it's always interesting to hear how the founder puts themselves and their business across. So yeah, over to you, Pete, for a little intro, if you could.
Okay, yeah. So my name is Pete Wilkinson. I am the founder of Reclaro, Reclaro.com. We are a OKR software SaaS startup based in the northeast of England. Most customers are in the UK. We do have some international, and we're at the stage of business where we have got a great product that's beyond MVP. It's been tested. It's been refined. We've done a UX UI project on it. We've got some great paying customers, and we're just starting to put some fuel in the fire to start getting some really good traction.
Cool. Fantastic. Sounds interesting. And yeah, well, I'd love to kind of talk more about, how you're looking to scale it, etc. But let's kind of wind back a little bit. For those that don't know, OKRs, could you give us just a brief summary?
Yeah, so OKRs stands for Objectives and Key Results. It's a very simple goal-achieving framework, more popular in the US than the UK at the moment, but businesses like Google started using when they had 40 people. LinkedIn use OKRs, Twitter, Facebook, Spotify, these sort of high-growth businesses. And why we feel passionate about them is that there's a huge emphasis between building the strategy or building the plan, and there's not always the same emphasis on the execution side. And as a person who has been told I'm slightly intense, my wife thinks I'm intense, my customers think I'm intense, my children do. But for me, there was a real gap missing in helping people execute at pace. So I created this little system called 135 many, many years ago, and began talking about it and coaching on it and consulting. And then I wrote a book on it and did some workshops, and we just evolved the idea. So it's an OKR type of tool, but our 135 is vision, objectives, and key results. And I believe vision's very important. So we built this system, and OKRs exist to help somebody to not just work hard, but work hard on the right things. And that's what's really important, Matthew. It's no good just doing stuff. You've got to be working hard on the right things that are gonna move a dial,
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to make sure there's focus, and that you're not just busy, but you are doing activities that are aligned with the direction that you're trying to go in, right? Yeah.
If you can find a simple way so that your team or your organization knows what they should be working on, and a system that doesn't get in the way of work, but just sort of helps you to direct what you should be working on, and then you can execute. Ideas are great. I totally get the idea of thoughts and plans, brilliant. But it's not until you start executing them and nailing things and getting stuff done that you can make the impact for your customers or your team or community, whoever you're working for,
Yeah. And obviously you mentioned you've done a lot of coaching and consulting in this space. What kind of customers were you working with as part of that kind of coaching work?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of small businesses. They would normally be a team of probably more than 10, up to a business that was like £130 million engineering business. Most would be probably, you would class them as SME sort of size business. Done that and still continue to do some consulting. At the moment, I'm doing less of it now, but I still do it. I do a lot of presentations as well to certain chief exec organizations. And I like that because it's sharing the methodology and helping people to improve, which is what I really love to do, is to see people get better or teams improve. That's what really gets me sort of fired up, to see people have tools and tactics that helps them improve. But at the same time, I'm learning from them as well. So it's really great. If you're like a lifelong learner, which I am, you're sharing your stuff and then you're learning how people are using it, adapting it, challenges, how they overcome them. So it's that really great cycle of helping others and then obviously receiving help as well,
Yeah, no, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. And I can imagine that feeds into the product development very well. But with those coaching customers, were they coming to you with knowledge of OKRs and looking for help implementing them, or was it weren't. Other problems that then led them to you in the first place?
Yeah, they were coming to me saying, we're doing okay, we're doing well, we know we can do better. We know there must be a better way to have our people on the same page. We know there must be a better way to have the objectives fed through the organisation. We know there must be a better way for get everyone on the same page, pulling in the right direction, And it was, right, if that's the problem, then one of the solutions, and there's many, one of the solutions could be OKRs. They're not for everyone, and 135 isn't for everyone, and Reclaro isn't for everyone. But the people who we help and support and partner with, really, because I do get to know, really, I've just this morning come off with a new customer. We're just doing the onboarding with them and going through, and they built their 135 OKR docs in Reclaro, Matthew, but their objectives weren't really clear. They weren't refined. The outcomes weren't up. I said, great, so what's the outcome you're going to go for then? And what's the measure on that key result? It's like key results shouldn't be grey. They shouldn't be beige. They should be like, has it been done? Has it not? Binary. Yes, no. What's the number? So, I like that bit, because then they go, right, great. And they end up with a better quality 135 OKR plan, which means that they execute better, which means, they get more success, that they're helping their people. A lot of the stuff today was around team engagement, around delivering better service to their customers, to who they serve. And by just refining what the measures are, they ended up with a better plan that would help them to deliver more value. And that's what it's about in life, isn't it? Just help people deliver more value,
Yeah, that makes sense. And is that the common mistake you see with people when they're trying to either get alignment in their business or implement OKRs? Is it actually being able to codify the right objectives and measures?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few common themes that come up when we get deep, and one of them is absolutely, the principle of, and if we were being brutal, it's rubbish in, rubbish out. If it takes you 3 minutes to build a plan, well, then don't really expect it to be well thought out, refined, a good measurable plan. And it's a little bit like, how many people want to be fit, but they've got to go to the gym. It's like, you do know that you can't just pay for your pure gym membership. You've got to actually physically turn up 3 or 4 times a week. You know that, don't you? And it's like, it does take a bit of effort. So if anyone's looking for a silver bullet, or anyone's looking for like a dead quick win, what's the quick win? Then it wouldn't be launching an OKR project in your business, or using a system like 135 or Reclaro. You have to put the effort in. So it does pay you back tenfold if you spend a little bit of time putting the right stuff in the system to begin with, or clarifying the right measures, or clarifying the most important objectives. In our system, we talk about 135 to have 3 main objectives, mainly because people have 33. Like, they're trying to do so much, Matthew. It's like they're just juggling plates and spinning plates, and they're like, doing so much stuff. And they get home at night and they go, hey, they speak to their life partner and say, do you know what? I've never stopped today. Oh, what have you been doing? Stuff. Have you made an impact? Absolutely not. I've just been doing stuff. So what we like to do is help people to have less of those days and more where they go, do you know what? Like, I've got a tighter focus, and I'm actually moving things along. I'm making an impact. I'm not just moving stuff around, moving bits of paper around, I'm getting stuff done, and it's the right stuff. Because the secret to all this, and we have various sort of sayings we use our customers, is in order to achieve more, you need to focus on less. So for most people watching or listening to this, it's not like a wider focus or a better focus. It's more of like a tighter, deeper focus. So if you can really get out to what's really important that we must, what is the stuff we must execute, and that's the stuff we're going to work on, not the easy, nice to do, bright blue butterfly chasing things all over the place, you know?
Yeah, far too many people doing what they could do rather than what they should or must do.
Yeah.
Because it might be easier.
It's easier, and you get the endorphin kick. And if you've got like an empty email box, or you go and have a couple of conversations with team members, and there is value in that. But if that's putting off writing that report or doing that proposal or speaking to that challenging customer or having that difficult team conversation that you don't want to maybe have, or writing that cash flow forecast or putting that funding pitch together, you know, these difficult things, it's very easy for the brain to go, you don't really need to do that, Pete. You can go off and do something easy instead. Go and talk to Zoe. It's always a good conversation. So I think if you're looking for peak performance, if you're looking to do something special in your business, rather than just, and if you're happy bobbing along, doing okay, got no problem with that. But if you're really, you know, when it gets quiet and you're by yourself and you go, do you know what, we should be doing better. I could be doing better. I want to be doing better. Then having a system to help you to do that, I think is wise, you know. Like training, you know, you do lots of training, and I know I do as well. You don't just go out and just do training. There's a plan, you know what I mean? Like, is this a tempo session, an endurance session, a speed session, lactic threshold session, a hill session? When you've got focus sessions, you might be spending actually less time training, but it's better quality training. You know, when I did my first Ironman, I was just junk training. I just trained all the blooming time. And then when I got focused, I was like an hour and 10 minutes faster doing less training because there was purpose. So it's the same thing with your work. What are the high value activities? And I think it's easy to find those when you have a simple sort of, 135 OKR doc than just doing stuff,
absolutely.
You know?
It's that purpose and intent of activity as well, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'm a big fan of outcome thinking rather than activity-based thinking. And what often happens is people think about the activity. They think about writing the cash flow forecast or writing the management report or whatever it is, and they go, I don't really want to do that. And it's like, well, what's the outcome of having that report ran? Or what's the outcome of completing your pitch deck to get some funding if that's what you're after? Or what's the outcome of having that difficult conversation with a team member? Instead of tolerating, a lower level performance, maybe have that difficult conversation, understand the cause, address that, and help them move on, like as in progress, And you can put those difficult things off. But if you think of the outcome, not the activity, then that gets you started,
Yeah, I think that can motivate you to perform the necessary action. And I think it can also help you kind of keep the course and course correct if maybe actually that action that I thought I needed to do, maybe I don't need to do all of it, or maybe I need to do something else as well or instead of this. But if you're focused on the outcome, then you know why you're doing something, don't you? Yeah,
you do. And I everyone's a work in progress. I'm a work in progress, but I'm getting better at what's the outcome of this call? What's the outcome of the email? What's the outcome of this meeting? I work with people, we get them to start costing their meetings, Matthew. It's like, right, we've got 10 people from the senior team in a room for an hour. Do you know what this meeting is actually physically costing the business? So let's make sure that the value is sufficient to justify the cost of the meeting. Where do we want to be by 11 o'clock? What does that look like? What's a good outcome by then? Right, let's work towards that, Whereas too many meetings, you put 10 people in a room, there's no outcome, there's no agenda, or they've got any other business on the end of it, and everyone capsizes the meeting. And that's why people don't like meetings. There's not a clear outcome,
Yes.
I was fortunate to do a visit around the Google head office in London a couple of years back, and they have very, very short meetings, but they're always focused. There's always an outcome. They get in, they discuss it, and they're out again. The cadence is pretty good. Whereas I came from a corporate background, and some of the meetings, they went on for ages, and they didn't need to, So I think that whole point around what's your outcome and work towards that rather than activity. Let's just do some stuff. It's like, what's the outcome,
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've all been in those kind of meetings. And if there is no outcome, how can anyone expect to be able to contribute during that meeting? Because by definition, there's nothing really to contribute to.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, weakness is a whole subject in itself, but it was really interesting on some of these really sort of good growth businesses. They've designed a structure and refined that, and it works for them. I mean, one of the best resource I came across was that Patrick Lencioni's Death by Meeting. It's a great book, and it's kind of suggests the sort of meetings. And I'm working with a business guide, and he's guiding me in my business, and we're looking at what the monthly tactical meeting looks like, the quarterly review, the annual retreat, and you're finding out what cadence works. I mean, even yesterday, I was in London with a team, and we were talking about one-to-ones, and they're not always getting done consistently because of time. And I'm like, right, well, let's have a very simple structure for a one-to-one. And I shared what my structure was, what I do with my team, and there's 3 parts to it. If it's a 15-minute one-to-one, it's a 5 minutes each. If it's a half an hour one-to-one, it's 10 minutes each. If it's a 21-minute one-to-one, it's 7 minutes each. But there's a structure to lead to an outcome, because work expands the fill of time available. If you put an hour in your diary, it'll take a blooming hour. Yeah. So that whole concept about changing from the activity focus to the outcome focus, I find it changes a lot. You start to put a higher value on your time, because if you get the outcome by like 20 minutes into the meeting, that's great. Give everyone another 40 minutes to do something else. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've seen some bad examples of that. I think the worst case I've seen is effectively a team status update meeting. The teams going around saying what they've been working on essentially every few weeks, every couple of weeks. And I think at peak, I counted 56 people in the meeting. That's a 2-hour meeting. That's a lot of hours there being spent.
Incredible. It is, isn't it? It's like nearly 3 weeks of someone's working full time, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there must be a better way of doing that. There must be a better way of getting that update around than 56 people in a room. Yeah, but that's it. And I think at the moment, and this, you definitely get this out of having like kind of an OKR type or a tool like that, is you get clarity on what you should be working on. And I think it's really easy to be measuring your input, like the effort you're putting in, how many hours you're putting in. But it's really all about output. Like, you meet someone who's really effective in like 25 hours to produce massive volume. Well, then let them just work 25 hours. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to work 37 or 40 or 50. It's like if they move their dial and they're just high value activities, they're focused, they're persistent on the right things, they value their time highly, they are the productive people. When we talk again yesterday, I was talking with a team and we were explaining that, efficiency is doing things right, but effectiveness is doing the right things. We've got to get better at doing the right things. There's a lot of people really efficient at doing the wrong things, Yes. And definitely. It's that shift. And I think that's what we're on a mission for, is to help people to have simple tools and tactics to allow them to produce their best work without having to work 50, 60 hours a week. Sometimes you've got to put big shifts in. I totally get that. Yeah. But like by becoming really effective, you can get a better outcome in less time. And that all helps to get the work-life blend,
Yeah, absolutely. So then when it comes to tooling, when it comes to Reclaro, what was the kind of the thinking behind, or the gap that you saw that led you to wanting to develop your own SaaS platform in this space?
Yeah. So when I was speaking in workshops, I was working with various chief exec organizations, and we had the templates, the 135 template, and people loved it and were very, very, I'm very grateful and lucky as well to have, won some awards in that. People loved the content, they liked the delivery, and I got great feedback. But then there was always the thing, like, there's a limitation in a PDF. It's like it's good. And spreadsheets are good, and you can put a 135 in a spreadsheet format, but there's limitations. So we started getting some feedback about it'd be great if this was like an interactive tool that you could see dials move, or you could see progress. And there's other organizations out there that do a similar thing to us in terms of OKR software and stuff. But I would sort of secret sauce, if you like, is the 135 system. And people love the simplicity of, I'm heading up ops. I've got a 135. I know what vision the vision is for my operations department for the next 12 months. And I know what I should be working on, my 3 objectives, not 33, my 3 to get that. And I know what my 5 key results are for each one. And people love the idea of that simplistic logging in, seeing something, and then off again. So when we started saying to people, we could put this in this format, what do you think? We got some really good feedback on one guy was saying it was simple genius. I think he meant the system, not me. But he was like, it's really easy to use. And we've kept true to the core sort of premise, if you like, of a light touch, easy to use system that helps people to move forward without getting in the way of work. So based on feedback from guys who were using the manual system, I went out and raised a couple of quid, just like, seed investment from some friends, really. Built the first model. I don't know if we're going to get into the journey, but the first model was very, very embarrassing. The first iteration of the software wasn't great at all. We then rebuilt it, and then we then sort of, I don't think a SaaS product's ever done. We then sort of went through a UX, UI project the sort of first 6 months of this year, and then we're starting to get scale now. But the real driver was people using the manual system in like a spreadsheet or a PDF or whatever, a Word doc or something like that, and realizing its limitations. Don't get me wrong, using it in that format's better than nothing, but it was like, this is great, but like, I want to delegate something and see if it's linked. How could it link? And it's very hard in spreadsheets to do that. And that's what really was like the iteration was like almost customer led.
I see. So kind of taking it to the next level, but based on the feedback that you had from that coaching consulting work. Yes, and because I still do that, I'm fortunate to be very close to the end customer, and I get really good understanding of what's needed and what's the next thing needed, because we are always looking. Yeah, but it's a balance, you see, Matthew, because you want to make it, I want to make it valuable, and we have to realize that part of its significant value is the simplicity of the system. And if you make it too elaborate, too detailed, where you've got to have a blooming PhD to use it, then you don't, get the value. Do you know what I mean? So we've got to, we've got to enhance the product, absolutely, but we know the challenge is enhancing it without making it overly complex, because from an execution point of view, if you can make things as simplistic as possible, it helps you to execute. And if you can avoid complexity, it makes better execution, So that's our like niche, if you like. Our absolutely. And I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah. And there is some great elaborate systems, SAP, Oracle, got some massive systems, great. But we like sort of in this sort of mid-market, we know this kind of customer who really benefits from us, and we know their size and their challenges, and that's where we target, this sort of simple to use system that doesn't get in the way of work, And we keep learning from customers, which I think is important.
Yeah, and is that where your first customers came from then, kind of existing coaching consulting engagements?
Yeah, it was. Up until not long ago, we would call it founder-led growth, where every sort of new customer had an interaction with me, whether they'd seen me speak, seen me at an event, been in one of my workshops, watched a video or whatever. It was really the classic founder-led growth initially. Get your first 10 customers. Everyone talks about this, but it is actually how it worked for us. And now we're starting to see other methods of reaching out to prospects now is starting to work. But in the early days, Matthew, everybody had been was a client, or they'd been on a course or a workshop masterclass. And they go, oh, that looks good. And it was great because it was that trust in marketing, which takes time. It all happened in a 3-hour workshop. They came in, like the delivery, got to know the system. Not that I was promoting the system, but they got to know what was happening. They saw it, thought, this is really good. And then you kind of you really sort of condense that 3 to 6 month normal, watch some videos, get some email, nurture. That was all condensed to a sort of 3-hour journey, really. Most of our early customers 95% that had a relationship at some degree with me. Now that's different, but it was like that before, yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, certainly for the early phases. And as you see things changing now then with kind of new customers where that may not be the case, how do you ensure that they get the same experience when they come on board the platform if they haven't had those kind of prior engagements, maybe not the same level of kind of education as some of those other types of customers?
Yeah, I mean, what it's done is it's put pressure on us to enhance the product. We will never be a self-service model. We don't want to be a self-service model. We're not a Calendly. We're not a, oh, this is great, I can connect to that. We're not that sort of product. So there will always be a, inverted commas, consultative sale process. There will always be some contact with a member of our team. What we have done is, though, it has put us under pressure to enhance the product. So now when someone goes in to build their first 135 OKR plan, there's like a video, you can click on a little button that says show help, and it'll be a video of giving you the overview. And then when you go to build vision, there'll be a video of me explaining what a great vision looks like. There'll be an example of a great vision. There'll be a checklist, and there'll be a place to put your vision. And the same with objectives. So the product now is far better at delivering that, but we do still get a large percentage of customers will invest a little bit extra to get guided onboarding, which again is currently me. And I've just done the session this morning with a team from Hull, and they've got 4 sessions, which is done via Zoom remotely, condensed to sort of 40 odd minutes. They pay for that, but that they spend more time getting the plans right, but they make more progress because the better quality plans that go in the system,
I see. So they've always got that consulting option to go alongside the platform as well to get that bit
in
of
the
extra
onboarding.
help.
Yeah, in the onboarding, we also do things like webinars and various things, but it's the more one-to-many now. We're not doing as much one-to-one stuff,
I see.
And then in time, we're probably going to build out some coaches that can also do that onboarding rather than me. It's like the story of most SaaS businesses. The founder, is in charge of sales, onboarding, designing product, flying the flag, building the vision, selling, doing demos. I'm still at that stage. We're still starting to get the big traction. So I'm still doing a lot of that stuff at the moment. But yeah, we've successfully onboarded a good 3 or 4 customers recently that hadn't gone through that, being a client or being that detailed. They've had just the light touch onboarding and the stuff within the product, and they've got going and they're getting value, and it's working for them. So yeah, we've just got to improve the product, but we know we're never going to be a self-serve. It's never going to be do a Google search, find us, onboard, get 40 team members on the system. It will be a consultative sort of sales process. We realize that,
Yeah, I think it's good to recognise that, but I imagine that you're going to get far more loyal customers that are buying into, not just the product, but they're buying into the methodology. They're buying into your perspective on their problems and challenges as much as anything itself.
Yes, and I, if I was brutally honest, I probably in the early days didn't appreciate that as much.
Right.
I just everybody do this. And when we looked at some of the guys in our space, they don't really do a lot of that. So we do class ourselves as OKR software and expertise. And we use that word only because, I've helped build over 1,000 135 OKR docs. If you play tennis 1,000 times, you're going to get better. You play snooker 1,000 times, you're going to get better. So, obviously it's my system I created, but the fact that I've over 8-9 years been helping build these 135s, I can kind of very easily in an onboarding call spot a challenge that might take the customer 3 or 4 hours to work out. I can say, well, actually that could be a way of approaching it. Have you thought about that? And it's just because of experience, So we're not trying to say we're experts, but we are saying that we offer more than just the platform. If you looked at Reclaro.com website, our knowledge hub, we have over, I think Zoe just last week got the 100th blog, so we are really passionate about listening to a problem a customer has and then answering it within a blog. There's 100 blogs on the site. There's OKR guides, there's templates, and all this stuff's on the site free, And there's the complete guide to OKRs, which is a big 5,000 word piece. There's, like I said, there's 135 templates. There's ebooks. So we do produce this content because, I am a lifelong learner, and I'm reading stuff. I'm at home now and I'm looking at my bookcase. I'm reading and studying all the time. So we're always looking at what are the barriers to this, and what about mental resilience? And we do sessions on grit, mental toughness, and and all this outcome thinking and gap model of what's your potential look like. So we're very passionate on that side. It isn't just like build a product, sit back and just get your monthly recurring revenue. We're really wanting. We have a set of core values. There's 5 of them, and core value 1 is put the effort in and go the extra mile. And everybody has to buy into that, In fact, before they even start our business, I created a team charter. And we send that to someone, say, here's our team charter. There's 3 sections. There's the purpose at the top. There's the core values in the middle, the core value and how you live the core value. And then there's the expectations block at the bottom. And this is because we only want to attract the right people who get us, because if somebody joins us and they don't want to go the extra mile, or they don't realize the importance of it, or they just don't do it, then there will be a mismatch in our business, because we want to go and say, right, could we build a checklist that would help someone do that? Could we write some content that would help someone do that? Could we shoot a video that would help someone do that? And that's the kind of culture of the business, We want to build a business where someone says, you know what, they're doing it right. They're taking care of their team, they're taking care of their customers, they're delivering value, they're humble, and they're constantly improving the product and the service. And that's the sort of business I want to build, that we are building. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think there's, so much to be, I think you can tell the companies that work in this way and talk about the problem space and the solution space this way, and want to put those articles up not as a transactional marketing tactic or anything else, but it's there because you want to educate the people within your audience and help to improve thinking, elevate that, and that will then naturally lead them to the product, of course, but it's doing so in a genuine way.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we worked hard with the blogs, and Zoe's put in who works in our team. She's head of marketing operations, and she it's a big effort to create 100 blogs, It's like if each blog 600 words, 500, 600 words. You're talking 60,000 words there, Some books haven't got that many words in them, So she's really, thinking about examples and templates and challenges and all the blogs are linked. So if someone who reads about something and, oh, that's interesting, well, there's always a link to like another type of content. You know what I mean? This is ungated. This is ungated. You haven't got to put name and email to get this. It's there on the site. It's to consume. It's to help. So we are that, and the workshops we put together and the master classes. We've got one coming up. Depending when this goes out, but it's in a couple of months' time, and we're working with a couple of HR people because we know hybrid working is causing a challenge. Many people don't want to come back to 40 hours a week in the office. So how do you have an effective people strategy when you've got some people in, some people off, some people remote, some people hybrid? So we're putting together a masterclass, and we're doing that, and it's just a free masterclass to sort of say, look, we've thought about this. Here's some solutions. So we're always looking to try and sort of educate and support our customers, prospects, people who have got these problems. The UK has a productivity puzzle problem. We're not as productive as other parts of the world. We're on a mission to give people the tools and techniques to try and become more productive and have more productive businesses. That's going to be great for UK PLC, So that's what we're really sort of on a mission about,
Yeah, and I guess I kind of feel compelled to ask, and I'm sure you've got all of this, codified in Reclaro yourself. But then for Reclaro, what is the vision for Reclaro? Where do you see that going?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a purpose, which is to help millions of people to be their best. So one of the benefits of having a SaaS business and having the resources to build lots of content is that you can help more people. Like I'm one of these irritatingly positive people. right? And I can't help people. If I'm walking down the street and I see someone like looking lost, are you all right? Can I help? Yeah, I'll carry someone's case up a flight of stairs in London, even though the person thinks I'm going to pinch it. But where I'm from in the northeast, you would do that, you know. So I'm just one of these people who helps people. You see, so we're on a right mission to help, and when you've got that sort of mindset, you know. If you build a SaaS product and you have the resource to build lots of content, then you are helping more people. If all I did was stick to workshops, to masterclasses to 10, 15 people, I'm helping 15 people at a time. If I build a SaaS product that, you know, we've got a customer in Asia now, great business, offices in Malaysia, Hong Kong, Singapore, and India, and great business. And like, you know, we've produced something that they are using to help their team to add more value to their customers. I mean, that's brilliant. You know, I couldn't do that. I haven't got the time to go to India to do masterclasses or to Malaysia. You know, it might be nice, but I haven't got the time. But because I've produced something, the SaaS product, we've got that now. We're having a wider reach. So so the purpose is to help millions of people to be their best. Going back to vision, we have a very clear vision for the next 5 years. So we know what 5 years looks like. We know what success looks like, and we know what the outcome will be in the terms of an exit for us at that 5-year period. So that's pretty clear, and all the team are aware of that. It's not a secret internally. We've explained that to the customer, to the team member, and we know the sort of business we'd like to exit to, and we know their sort of values will be aligned to ours.
I see.
So I've gone through that whole process of. I'm a big fan, Matthew, in having 5-year vision, 12-month plan. I like the idea, and I've seen that work. It works for us, and it works for a lot of our customers and clients. 5-year vision, 12-month plan. You know, every year, 20%, 40%, 60%. So we've got our own 5-year vision. We know what it looks like. We know who we'd like to exit to. We know what we're building, something that it's a great systemized business that just delivers genuine value. We track things like Net Promoter Score. We track things like Google reviews because it's important to us. And we're just constantly innovating the business and the systems for us to get to this point in 5 years. But it's impact-led, you know? Yeah,
and I can tell it's impact-led. And I like the first thing you said when you talked about exit strategy was that the values would be aligned.
Yes, that's important. Like, I mean, it's very controversial, but there are certain sectors that I wouldn't want to have as customers, if we like. So we are pretty. I'm not going to say what they are, but you know, I'm
interested now.
Well, you know, I'm interested in health and fitness. So any sector that doesn't contribute to health and fitness, you know, I wouldn't want to go and speak at the vape convention. Let's just say, if there is a one, you know. So the business that we're going to exit to, will have to value what our values are. Just the same as a team member. A team member won't join if they've got values that aren't aligned to ours, and that's important because you know we've got some really great customers, and you know I wouldn't want to build a business, take care of those customers, and then you know exit to an organization that doesn't value and is just about profit maximization, not service. That wouldn't be a fit for us, you know. So that's really important.
Yeah, and I can tell that, and the way you've described it is very much that service at scale. And you know, it seems like the values are something that you genuinely embody and take care to make sure that you're, as you said you know a few times, that your team members, any prospective team members, must align to those as well. And I think so many businesses, you know, almost do that value exercise after the fact, or looking for a positive spin to put on something internally, which you know may have an effect for a day or two, or maybe you know most people will see that the company doesn't live it, so therefore don't believe it. But I can see that you're quite carefully and deliberately, you know, making sure that those values are upheld.
Yes, and we do a thing every Friday morning at 10 o'clock called MTS, which stands for Micro Training Session. And these are primarily led by me, although other team members do sometimes train on their interest or their subject or whatever. But
yeah,
part of these micro training sessions, 10, 15, 20 minutes probably, we do often review the values, and we'll say, right,
yeah,
value 3, personal professional growth. How are we growing? What courses are you doing? What books are you reading? What have you learned? Which podcast made the best interest with you this week? What do you do? So, then we might say, right, okay, then being professional, do the thing you say you're going to do. Have we always followed through this week? Did we do the things? Is there any tasks that you promised someone that are still hanging? Is someone waiting for something from you? Team is a value, core value 5, team, like how have you supported your team this week? I do not want a silo business. I have worked with and seen silo businesses where this department is almost preventing this department from operating. Dreadful culture.
Yeah.
That's just not what we want. So we do use the core values in what we call the team chart at the very offset. We're in the middle of onboarding a new dev guy, and Ray will be joining us on the beginning of October. And I went through the team chart. It's like, right, this is our purpose, Ray. Does this resonate with you? Because if it doesn't, that's a problem. Here's our 5 values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is how, you would live the value. Do you have any problem with that? Which one jumps out at you? Which resonates with you? Here's our expectations, Ray. This is what you can expect from us as an employer, as Reclaro being an employer. And then on the right, this is what we expect from you, Ray, as an employee. So at the very offset, we say purpose, values, and expectations. And that does put off some people, and that's absolutely fine, because it would be very costly for them and us, time and money, if they join and thought, geez, Pete's a bit intense. He keeps talking about this purpose and values, because, yes, Pete is intense. I am intense, and it has to be right. So I do say that. I'm almost like putting them off, Matthew, before they join. Like, are you sure you really want to join this business? Because this is like, software flipping special forces type of thing. It's not for everyone, but we're on a mission, So the values are there from day one, and then we will review them in trainings and we'll know them. And I know loads of people who can say, oh yeah, our business got 5 values, and I'll say, great. What's core value 1? And they won't know it, And I think the values should not be set and forget. They should be living. There's a business, and I can't quite say the word. It's that Thai restaurant. Is it Chai Prior or something? I can't remember how you say it. It's a Thai restaurant, Matthew, right? And I heard the founder, the CEO, speak at a conference. And in every one of his restaurants, he has this thing called a love candle. And it stands for live our values every day. And the first person into a restaurant in the morning lights the candle, and it's lit all day. And the last person who leaves on a night extinguishes the candle. And it's to try and symbolize, like, this is the love candle. So it's obviously, I'm sure there's variations of a love candle. This particular one's around values, but this is like, when that's lit, remember our core values, And I think that's really good to be a values-led business, because if you look at some of the things that's gone on, certainly in politics, people will say these are the values, and then how they operate are completely in violation of the values, and you lose credibility, And I think that's the problem. But yeah, they are very important to us, and the people who we will be working with and partnering with. I even mentioned values on our demos. When I'm demoing the software, I'll say this is our values, you know what I mean? So this is what you can expect, because this is what we value. We will go the extra mile. We will do what we say we'll do, So I even mentioned them in demos, so that a company who's going to partner with us and trust us understands the sort of organization we are, So it's very important.
I think that's very important. I like the way you describe the way that you would kind of tell people how, show employees and team members how you live those values, what it means to actually execute them, and it gives them context. But I think it also gives, sets expectation, as you describe it. I think it also gives them permission, especially if they have come from that siloed environment in the past. Mm-hmm. I think many team members probably aren't used to genuinely being able to live those values for fear of being called out. Oh, what are you doing that for?
Yeah, and you know what? Like, if I was, if we were totally open and brutal on this chat, we had a team member start a while ago, and they were in for a day. Okay, went through the process, interview process, went through everything, onboarded them. I did the onboarding. Great. They looked the part, and there was a couple of amber flags, you know, when you're just not sure about that. But we thought they were young. So I thought, right, you know, maybe lack of experience, haven't, you know, I can help to develop them. You know, I've been in management leadership for quite a while now. I'm not your typical 20-something SaaS founder. I'm a 50-something SaaS founder. But so I am experienced. I thought I could help the person to develop. Anyway, turn up for day one. And as the induction, the sort of the onboarding part of it, when we go through everything, it just became evident that the person maybe wasn't living the way that they said they would in the interview process.
Right.
So that was the first day. And then there was a couple of things said during that first day which went from amber to red. And I couldn't sleep that night. And I was thinking, oh, God, you know, it's just, you know, and I wasn't sure. Came in the next day, you know, the start date's technically 9 o'clock. The guy walks in at 8:58. And I'm like, second day, there's lots to be done. I would have preferred you to have, like, been ready with your coffee to start, not come at 8:58. Then pop the loo, then take your coat off, then get a coffee and come in the room at like 9 or 10. It might sound little, but like, you know, like timing is very important. Anyway, as we started that conversation on the second day, it appeared he wasn't doing the training that he said he would do. And he needed to do this training because it's a certain technology we use, and he wasn't, you know, match fit with it. So he said he would do the training. We paid for the training. We paid for it. There's the training. But of course, the funny thing is, though, Matthew, because we pay for the training, we can see if he does the training, can't we? We can see if he's done module 1, 2, and 3, or if he hasn't. Anyway, and there was a few other things. So it was the morning. It was about 10 o'clock, and I went, look, let's just pause for a second. I said, do you think that you have put sufficient effort in this new role? And he'd said, no, I don't think I have. And I said, here's our first 2 core values. I went through these with him. I said, I went through these with you. Core value 1, put the effort in, go the extra mile. Have you done that? No, I've not done that. Okay. Core value 2, be professional, do the thing you say you're going to do. You said you would do this. Have you done this thing? No, I've not done that. I went, well, it's just new, but because this is the way that is your normal way of operating, it isn't going to work because I'm going to irritate you. You're going to irritate me. So let's just agree on this occasion, you're better off in a different organisation. And we just let him go straight away. And I didn't want to do that. And I would have given the benefit of the doubt if he'd met me halfway, but he hadn't. So based on the fact that after one day, there was 2 core values that he hadn't lived, it was like, it isn't going to work. And I just made the decision straight away. Did it cost us painfully? Yeah, because, like, you know, we'd gone through the process, we'd lost traction. I like the guy, you know, but values, you know, you said you would do this blooming thing. Matthew, if you're not going to put an effort in when you first start, what's going to happen in 6 months' time when you think you're in your feet's on the table?
Pain now is nothing compared to that cost, is it?
It's not. So that would be an example of, like, you know, if I was being really honest, that's how important these values are to us. Like, we have to live them because that's the sort of business that we want to build. We want to build a beacon business that people go, do you know what? Them buggers at Reclaro, they're doing it right. They're taking care of their team. They're investing in training. They're taking care of the customer. They're measuring NPS. They're producing content. They're educating. They're trying to help. And it's a great product that's easy to use. They take feedback. They're constantly evolving. That's a great business. And it'll be a big business. You know, by the time we exit, we might only have 20 odd people. But it's going to be a small group of absolutely elite, focused people working hard on the right things that get it and are wanting to build something special. And that, I hope, comes across for our customers, you know. But yeah, value is very, very important to us from that perspective, you know.
Absolutely. No, I think that's really, really refreshing to hear you say that. And I think that anyone listening to this, you know, if they're starting or scaling their own business and think about values, I would encourage them to listen to this like 3 times at least and go over what that means. It's, you know, genuinely living it, and living it when it's good is kind of easy. You know, still requires focus, of course, but it's living those values when it's hard, when there are painful decisions like that to make. That's what makes sure that those values genuinely do endure in that company.
Yeah, and I mean, our interview process consists of a screening call, a who interview, like who are they as a person, a focused interview on the skill fit. It's a reference interview. We take up references. So we don't like, oh, you look quite good, come and join us. So I did go through that process, and even though we went through that process, it didn't work out. But I think what the rest of the team saw was that because we're on a mission, because this is important, it's like this person started and hasn't stayed because within the first day, 2 of our values wasn't lived. Therefore, it's an instant decision. It ain't going to work, because if that person tried to live our values, then they would be acting. It wouldn't be natural.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, you really want people who are a natural fit, to your business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want someone who kind of gets what you are. And this guy said he would do it and said he was, but it wasn't. So therefore, from the value point of view, we just had to make a decision. And it cost us because we lost a lot of time in that interview process. But fingers crossed, Ray's better.
Yes.
We'll know
I think it's better for all parties involved.
Yeah, it is. Because I said to the guy, I shook his hand at the door, and I said, look, you've got a bright future. You need to learn from this. And I said, if you want a separate call, 1-to-1, you and I on the phone, I can give you some honest feedback about how you could improve next time when you go somewhere else. 'Cause I want to help the guy, but I couldn't have him in our team,
Yeah, no, I think that's a really genuine way to do it, is be willing to help him, but realise that for both parties it's not the right fit. And I think that genuinely shows how you are living those values. Yeah,
it's important. It is important, It underpins things, doesn't it? It does underpin things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot to be said for that genuine, values-driven and service-driven, type of business that you've described. And I want to be respectful of your time as well. I'm sure we will have, I hope, a follow-up to this conversation. There's lots more we could dig into. But just something to leave people listening with, if they have been listening to this and interested in finding out more about either Reclaro itself or the 135 methodology and how they might be able to implement it in their business, what are some good kind of resources for them to be heading towards and taking a look at?
The first thing would be the website is our anchor hub. So Reclaro, RECLARO.com. In there you will see the knowledge hub. That has the blog in there with, like I said, there's over 100 blog articles in there. It has the free templates. It has the OKR complete guide. There is ebooks in there. There is case studies. So you could see how a business has used Reclaro, the challenges they had, how it helped them overcome that. That's the main source. Yeah. And of course, ultimately, if they wanted to have a discovery call or a demo, there's buttons on the site that book a demo, and then they just choose a half an hour slot if they wanted to do that. But there is a lot of resources on there that would help them to understand the thinking behind that, And then from a general point of view, I'd just like to say, Matthew, I think one of the things that I'm seeing more of, which is encouraging, and I would encourage more people to do this, is that, Stephen Covey talks about begin with the end in mind in one of his 7 habits of highly effective people. And I think we should be building business thinking, what business do I want to build? Where do I want to, what do I want this business to look like? And what conversations and discussions and goals and values and purpose and things do I have to get that sort of business? And I think if we can get more businesses that are led that way, rather than figuring out on the way, yes, you have to figure some stuff out. But I think and I'm very fortunate that we got really clear on the type of business, not just the product and who we're serving, but the way, the method, how are we going to operate as a business? And I think I'm seeing more do that, but I think we need more and more people. So if anyone's listening to this who's in that stage, do think about the sort of business we want to be. We ask our customers, how did you find the onboarding? How you find the product? What's working well? Even better if, we do that to genuinely demonstrate we want to build this, what we call a beacon business, And I think if more people did that, I think would have a lot better businesses operating within the UK,
Absolutely. I think that's a great message and a great summary of what we've talked about. And I think just to add a small point to that, I would say don't be afraid of being honest about what you want that to look like. And I mean, instead of what you think the right answer should be, it should be $1 billion unicorn business or whatever it may be, it should go down this particular route or that particular route. I think too many people instinctively reach for what they think the right answer to that question is, rather than one that genuinely aligns with their passion and purpose and values.
Yeah, I mean, we love the cut and throat of our SaaS startup. And, when we got we are not there yet, but in a couple of years, we've got 20 people, really clear functions. We're operating a pinnacle business system in the business, and we know who's doing what, and when that energy is there, and that's what we want to build. And when we get to that point and everyone's optimized and the business reaches a certain thing, we're ready to let another organization come in. We'll exit to them, and they'll then put their resources in, which will increase the impact further. As we say, that there'll be an alignment with values at that point,
Yeah,
which is important.
Absolutely. So, I think, Pete, firstly, thank you, personally for taking the time to talk to me today. I know the audience is going to get a lot out of this, and I hope they enjoy the conversation as much as I have as well. And I wish you the best of luck. I think you'll lead it on that journey towards that point that you've described. And I'm sure we'll hopefully have a round two and see how that journey is progressing. Yeah,
absolutely. Brilliant. Yes, we're in the middle of a little bit of a race. So, we can certainly pick things up once that's done and just see how that's helped the business accelerate,
Yeah, absolutely. No, look forward to it. Thanks again, Pete.
All right. Thank you very much. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Inside the Scale Up. Remember, for the show notes and in-depth resources from today's guest, you can find these on the website insidethescaleup.com. You can also leave feedback on today's episode, as well as suggest guests and companies you'd like to hear from. Thank you for listening.